Someone just said to me, and I am quoting directly, let us circle back offline to align on the deliverables and make sure we are all singing from the same hymn sheet before we move the needle on this. And did you understand it? Every single word. Individually. Circle, back, offline, align, deliverables, needle. I know all of them, and I had absolutely no idea what I was being asked to do. To the listener, welcome to Corporate English, the dialect of the workplace that nobody teaches in English class, where sentences are grammatically correct and completely meaningless simultaneously, where everyone nods along, and where if you ask what move the needle means, you look like the only person in the room who does not know. And today, we decode it. 15 minutes, the most common corporate English phrases, what they actually mean, what to say back, and the ones that are so overused that using them yourself will make people like you slightly less. I'm Mary.
I'm Albert. LeapTalk English, B2 level, real conversation. Today, Corporate English Decoded, 6 phrases at a time, word tour at the end. Stay for phrase 4 because it is the one that every non-native speaker hears every single week and almost nobody knows the actual origin of.
Comment right now, what is the most confusing corporate English phrase you have ever heard? Tell us in the comments, we want the best ones.
Let's go. Phrase 1, let us circle back.
What it sounds like, we are going to draw a circle, possibly involving movement.
What it actually means, let us return to this topic at a later point. Circle back is the corporate equivalent of, we are not dealing with this now, but I am not saying no. It is a delay, sometimes a genuine one, sometimes a polite burial.
How to use it correctly, let us circle back on this after the budget is confirmed. The key addition, the condition, after X. Without the condition, let us circle back means nothing. With the condition, it means something specific is planned.
How to respond when someone says it to you, happy to. Can we put a time in the diary so it does not get lost?
Put a time in the diary. Schedule a specific moment, so it does not get lost. Acknowledging that without a specific time, circle back often means never. This response is professional, warm, and quietly insists on the follow-through.
The verdict, use it. It is genuinely useful for politely postponing something, but add the condition. Circle back without a time frame is the corporate equivalent of someday.
Related phrases in the same family, revisit this, come back to this, park this for now, all mean the same thing with slightly different energy. Park this, put it somewhere and leave it. Revisit, more formal. Come back to, more natural.
Phrase 2, let us touch base.
What it sounds like, a sports reference, which it is, from baseball, where runners touch bases, but nobody in a corporate environment is thinking about baseball.
What it actually means, let us have a brief informal check-in. Not a full meeting, not a formal review, a quick conversation to make sure we are updated. Touching base is the 5-minute version of a meeting.
How to use it, I will touch base with you on Friday to see how the presentation is going. Casual, low pressure, no agenda required. How to respond when someone wants to touch base with you. Absolutely, what works for you? Or, happy to, Slack or a quick call. And the modern version of touch base that has largely replaced it in many workplaces, ping me. Ping me, send me a quick message, very casual, very current. Ping me when you have the numbers and I will take a look. The word ping comes from the sound a message notification makes. Now it means send me a message quickly and informally. The verdict, both touch base and ping me are safe to use. Touch base is slightly more formal. Ping me is more casual and more current. Both signal low pressure, brief communication. Phrase 3, move the needle. What it sounds like, adjusting a physical instrument, a speedometer, a fuel gauge, something with a needle.
What it actually means, to make a meaningful, measurable difference, to cause noticeable progress, we need to find an approach that actually moves the needle on customer satisfaction means we need to do something that produces real, visible improvement, not incremental, not invisible, something you can point to.
The origin actually is from a needle, specifically a record player needle. When music played, the needle moved. When nothing played, the needle stayed still. Moving the needle originally meant causing something to actually register.
How to use it. The new campaign moved the needle on engagement. We saw a 30% increase in the first month. Very natural, very professional.
How not to use it. Let us move the needle on synergizing our cross-functional deliverables. This sentence, which has been said by real humans in real meetings, is the point at which corporate English becomes self-parody.
The verdict, use it for genuine measurable improvement. Avoid it in sentences containing 3 or more other pieces of corporate jargon. The more jargon surrounds it, the more meaningless it becomes.
Stay. Phrase 4 is the one I said before the episode that every non-native speaker hears every single week and almost nobody knows the actual origin of, and the origin changes everything.
Phrase 4, singing from the same hymn sheet.
This one, every time I hear it, I get a brief image of a church choir, which is not what anyone means.
The origin, it is literally from church, from the practice of congregations following the same printed hymn during a service. If everyone has the same hymn sheet, everyone sings the same words. If someone has a different one, discord.
And in corporate English, are we singing from the same hymn sheet means do we all have the same understanding, the same information, the same agreed position on this?
It is a question about alignment, about consistency. Are we all saying the same thing? Do we all know what we are doing?
When to use it? Before the client presentation, can we make sure we are all singing from the same hymn sheet on this? Very natural, very useful.
The simpler version that means exactly the same thing, are we all on the same page?
On the same page, one of the most useful and most used corporate English phrases. Very natural, very clear. I just want to make sure we are all on the same page before we go into the meeting.
The verdict: singing from the same hymn sheet is British English and slightly old-fashioned. On the same page works everywhere. Use on the same page. Know what singing from the same hymn sheet means when you hear it.
And the related phrase, get our ducks in a row.
Get our ducks in a row. To make sure everything is organized and in order before proceeding. Let us get our ducks in a row on this before we present to the board. Origin unclear. Possibly from shooting, possibly from baby ducks following their mother in a neat line. Either way, fully organized, everything prepared. Phrase 5, 2 for 1, because these two appear together so often in corporate environments that they deserve to be taught as a pair. Low-hanging fruit. The easy wins. The tasks are opportunities that require the least effort for the most reward. Let us start with the low-hanging fruit before we tackle the more complex projects. Like fruit on a tree, the lowest fruit requires the least effort to pick. Use it when you are prioritizing and want to identify the easiest, highest value starting points. And bandwidth.
Bandwidth, originally a technology term for the capacity of a network connection. In corporate English, it means the mental, emotional, or time capacity of a person. Do you have the bandwidth to take this on? Means, do you have the time and capacity available to do this?
And this one I want to be specific about, is one of the most commonly misunderstood corporate phrases by non-native speakers. Because when someone says, I do not have the bandwidth for this right now, they are not talking about their internet connection. They are saying, I am too full. I have too much already. I cannot add this.
How to use it? I want to help, but I genuinely do not have the bandwidth this week. Can we look at next week? Very professional, very honest, and much more natural in a corporate environment than I am too busy.
The verdict: both phrases are completely mainstream. Use them freely. Low-hanging fruit occasionally gets eye rolls in meetings where everyone is trying to sound original. Bandwidth is so embedded in workplace English now that it barely registers as jargon anymore. Stay. Phrase 6, the one that makes most non-native speakers freeze mid-sentence. Phrase 6, the two that cause the most confusion.
Take this offline.
What it sounds like: going somewhere without internet, disconnecting.
What it actually means, let us have this conversation outside of the current meeting, not in front of everyone, in a smaller, more private setting. Take this offline means this conversation is too detailed, too specific, or too sensitive for the full group. Let us have it separately.
When someone says, let us take this offline in a meeting, they mean this topic needs its own conversation. Not now, not with everyone. Later, smaller.
The correct response: absolutely. I will drop you a message after this. Signal that you will initiate the follow-up. This is both professional and ensures the conversation actually happens.
And boil the ocean.
Boil the ocean. One of the most vivid and most used corporate phrases for attempting something impossibly large or complex. We cannot boil the ocean here. Let us focus on one specific element.
The image: trying to literally boil an entire ocean. Impossible, absurd, endless. When someone says we are trying to boil the ocean, they mean we are making this too big, too ambitious, too complex. We need to narrow it down.
Use it when a project or plan is expanding beyond what is manageable. We need to be careful not to boil the ocean on this one. Let us define the scope clearly.
And the related phrase that means the same thing: scope creep.
Scope creep, the gradual, uncontrolled expansion of a project beyond its original boundaries. The project suffered from scope creep. What started as a website redesign turned into a full brand overhaul. Very useful, very common, very precise.
6 phrases decoded. Circle back, return to this later with a condition. Touch base, brief informal check-in. Move the needle, make measurable progress. Singing from the same hymn sheet, everyone has the same understanding. Bandwidth, available capacity. Take this offline, have this conversation separately. And boil the ocean, making something impossibly large.
The bonus verdict: the corporate phrases that are so overused that using them marks you as someone who speaks in corporate rather than in English.
Going forward, at the end of the day, it is what it is, hit the ground running, think outside the box, synergy.
All of these, know what they mean. Use them sparingly, if at all, because the most impressive English in a corporate environment is the English that says the actual thing clearly, without the jargon wrapper.
Let us make sure everyone understands the plan before we present it is better than let us get our ducks in a row and make sure we are singing from the same hymn sheet.
Same meaning. One of them is clear. One of them is a hymn sheet about ducks.
Word tour.
First word, jargon. Jargon is the specialized language of a particular group or profession, words and phrases that make sense within a group but can confuse outsiders. Corporate jargon is the specific vocabulary of the business world. It exists because it can be efficient, shared shorthand. It becomes a problem when it substitutes for clarity.
For example, the meeting was so full of jargon that by the end, nobody was entirely sure what had been decided. Moving the needle on synergies turned out to mean doing two things that were already planned. Repeat. Jargon.
Jargon.
Next, align. To align means to position things so they are in agreement. In corporate English, getting aligned means ensuring everyone has the same understanding and is working toward the same goal. We need to align on the strategy, means we need to agree on it before moving forward.
For example, before the launch, the team spent an hour getting aligned, making sure every department understood the plan, the timeline, and their specific role in it. The hour felt like a cost. The lock of it would have cost more. Repeat. Align.
Align. Next, deliverable. A deliverable is a specific output or result that is expected to be produced by a certain time. Not a task, the product of a task. The deliverable for this project is a 10-page report by Friday. The report is the deliverable. Very common in project management English. For example, she was clear on the deliverables. 3 things, specific descriptions, specific deadlines, which meant everyone on the team knew exactly what done looked like, which is rarer than it sounds. Repeat. Deliverable.
Deliverable. Next, scope. Scope is the range or extent of something. In project English, the scope is what is included and what is not. Within scope means it is part of the agreed work. Out of scope means it is not. Managing scope means being clear about what the project is and is not responsible for. For example, the addition had seemed small, 1 extra feature, but it was out of scope, and accepting it without discussion opened the door to 3 more requests that were also out of scope. Scope is a boundary, and boundaries need to be stated. Repeat. Scope.
Scope. Next, stakeholder. A stakeholder is anyone who has an interest in or is affected by a project or decision, not just the people doing the work, the people who care about the outcome. Key stakeholders are the most important ones whose agreement or support is needed. For example, the decision needed stakeholder buy-in before it could move forward, not just the team's agreement, but the sign-off of the people whose budgets, timelines, and reputations were attached to the outcome. Repeat. Stakeholder.
Stakeholder.
Next, pivot.
To pivot means to change direction. In business English, to pivot is to make a significant strategic change in response to new information or circumstances. The word comes from basketball, the pivot foot that stays planted while the player changes direction. For example, the pivot had been necessary. The original plan had depended on an assumption that turned out to be wrong, and the team that pivoted quickly lost less time than the one that defended the original plan past the point of usefulness. Repeat. Pivot.
Pivot. Next, proactive. Already covered in the interview episode. Worth returning to here because in the corporate English context, proactive is one of the most valued qualities. Being proactive means taking action before being asked, anticipating needs and addressing them before they become problems. For example, she was proactive about the timeline risk, flagging it in week 2 rather than week 8, which gave everyone time to adjust without the panic that a late flag would have caused. Proactive is the difference between managing something and being managed by it. Repeat. Proactive. Proactive. And our final word, clarity. Clarity means the quality of being clear and easy to understand. In the context of corporate English, clarity is the goal that jargon often undermines. The best corporate communicators are the ones who use plain English when plain English works, and jargon when it is genuinely the most efficient option.
For example, the most impressive person in the room was the one who said, "We need to decide this before Friday or the project is delayed," rather than, "We need to drive alignment on the decision-making timeline to avoid downstream impacts on our deliverables." Same meaning. One of them had clarity. Repeat. Clarity.
Clarity. 8 words. Jargon, align, deliverable, scope, stakeholder, pivot, proactive, clarity. Everyone lives in the corporate English world, and everyone is now yours in both directions, to understand when you hear them and to use when they are actually the clearest option.
Because the most fluent person in any corporate environment is not the one who uses the most jargon. It is the one who is always the clearest.
I'm Mary.
I'm Albert.
LeapTalk English. Thank you for listening and for finally knowing what circle back means. See you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.